Ted, do you believe you have a soul?
What did you think I would do at this moment when you're standing before me with tears in your eyes? That answer your question?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fanzone Debate. We're a very professional show here, and I love it. Look at these guys. Oh, they're all so beautiful. We got a great match for you today. We got Robert Castner taking on John Maher. This is exciting. John is a rookie. He won his first match. It was a really good match, really great debut match. He's a shit talker. We all know this. And he's going up against Castner, someone who's a little bit more calculated with his approach. I'm interested to see how that works going head to head. On the judge's desk with me today, we have, as Brian, the joke Brian made, the star of the Blair Witch Project 3, Kirk Kolakowski. I stole the joke from Brian. But Kirk, are you okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. My laptop's not, so I'm on my phone and I'll try to get this figured out. But we'll power through. And I'm doing good. I'm excited about this match. I've been catching up on a lot of debates I missed over the past couple of weeks that were posted. And some I realize there's certain people who just have the natural temperament for debate and some people who don't. I'm not saying the people who don't can't be good at it. They're just going to kind of find something else to be. To draw from themselves. But John and Robert both have the temperament required to do this. Like you said, they have different styles, but they just really are guys who are good. Even John's proved it, early on that just in general, us knowing John in the community, they're just both built for this. So I'm excited to see them go head to head.
Yeah, we also have the champ here, Brian. How are you? And what do you think about this matchup coming in 1-0 versus something else? I don't remember what Robert's record is.
No, I'm actually excited for this one because I don't think I've seen John debate myself yet. So this is my first exposure, I think, to him. Robert, obviously, I've seen firsthand how good he is, both in a match against me as well as some other ones that I've had to judge. So I know he's good. John, like I've said before, he likes to argue anyway, so he might as well do it in a league and get something out of it. So I think this will be a lot of fun, and I'm obviously watching closely because one of these guys could eventually be my next contender. So
this is true. All right. Well, this is how the game is gonna work. The players drafted categories. We gave them questions based on those categories, and they're gonna debate those questions tonight before our very souls. So each player is gonna get a 1-minute opening, followed by the 5-minute freeform, followed by a 1-minute closing at the end of the debate. Kirk, Brian, and I will write on our boards who we thought won the debate. 2 out of 3 votes will win you a point. First player to hit 3 points will win the match. Robert, John, anything you have to say to each other before we get started?
I mean, I've been painted as like a shit talker, but like Robert is like, we're fans of each other. Like, I don't think I've ever said anything negative about Robert. I've upset Robert just indirectly, but I've never like directly upset him, and he's never directly upset me. So it's like it's true. We're
we can
buddies.
change that today.
Yeah, we're buddies.
I was thinking about that going into this, that we might end up poking portions of ourselves we weren't intending. And that sounded as dirty as I wanted it to.
Yeah, it did. All right, let's get into it. Okay, let's kick this off with your first question. This was drafted in the category of comedy, drafted by Mr. Castner. The question is, which 2000s comedy has the best lead performance? Robert, you can take this one off. You have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
When I chose this category, the intention of what John and I chose wasn't, it kind of goes against the spirit. This is against comedy first roles to kind of prestige efforts of comedy and drama where the lines are blurred together. So I was thinking about, in that context, who is kind of the catalyst of everything in a comedy film within that decade in a good movie? And I landed on Adam Sandler and Punch Drunk Love. Paul Thomas Anderson, he wanted to work with Sandler as much as anybody after Magnolia because he didn't have any traditional dramatic parts under his belt. There's some heart and emotion woven in some of the other stuff, but nothing like this. He saw something in him that allowed Sandler to play a dichotomous character like Barry Egan. He's soft-spoken, timid, unwilling to connect with anyone, but when he's pushed, he's loud, violent, emotional. Sandler's able to bring these two things together with some baggage, some affect. It doesn't feel caricature-y at all because of how lived in and grounded. There's a groundedness that Sandler brings, and I think it's because of our feelings about him, but it works really well for this film.
All right, let's move over to Mr. Maher. You have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
Robert's right. We both kind of chose like against type. You know, you could have gone like Will Ferrell or another Adam Sandler movie, like funny stuff. But we both chose movies that are like they're funny, but it's the nuances of the performances that really drive these two movies. And I chose Michael Stuhlbarg in A Serious Man. This is a very layered performance because it works on a bunch of levels. For starters, it is like, I don't want to say it's a critique, but it's definitely an exploration of like all the neuroses that go along with like modern Judaica, and Michael Stuhlbarg nails that. Then it's also a modern retelling of the Book of Job, which if you look at, he is just playing it straight the whole movie, and everybody is chaotic around him. And it's a credit to like just how great their performance is that he has to react separately to like every single other maniacal character, like disrupting his life in all kinds of different ways. Everything is constantly falling down around him. But besides that, it also just works as an everyman trying to live his life and find peace.
Okay. All right, great. 5 minute freeform, gentlemen. When one of you starts talking, I will throw up the 1 minute warning when the time comes. And if one of you is talking too much, I'll throw up the let your opponent talk. Don't make me do that, or I will send the Blair Witch Kirk to your house to haunt you. 5 minutes when one of you starts talking.
I mean, go on, Robert. Like you said, it is against type for Sandler. I agree. I think it was definitely a bold move by PTA to do this. But I feel like a lot of the things in the movie, there's some laughs, but it's tempered by a lot of drama, maybe too much drama for it to be a strong comedic performance. What do you think?
So you had mentioned about how Stuhlbarg kind of plays it as the straight man. It's an admirable performance. I'll give it that. But I think Sandler is able to cross the barrier of being straight and crazy more so than Stuhlbarg does. I know that's not what he's asked to do. I'm wondering if maybe he didn't kind of live up to what the guy like Cy Abelman, the rabbis, what those people could do.
I would say it goes back to it being like for the Coen brothers, basically like, taking this time off to just basically, we're going to tell a biblical story. We're not going to say flat out it's a biblical story. We're going to cast him as Job. And if you know the Book of Job, like he's not a funny guy either, but I guess technically chaotic, funny stuff happens around him, and it's his lack of reaction or his search to find normalcy, his search to make sense of everything around it, that actually is really hysterical. Like the scene with the rabbi where he just refers to the parking lot, and Stuhlbarg's reaction, though it is not like a waka 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 reaction, it's hysterical. Whereas in Punch Drunk Love, there's a lot of scenes that are, I don't want to say they're hard to watch, but they're not played funny. They're played like an accurate depiction of like sad mental illness.
Yes, I agree with that. But there are times where how it is he interacts with people like Luis Guzman, with his sisters, especially with Philip Seymour Hoffman at the end, where it's played comedic because he gets a chance to go up. There's a versatility to it that Stuhlbarg doesn't get to meet. Again, admirable job. I think at some points, though, there are flat affects to him. He doesn't get a chance. Like there's physical comedy, too, with Sandler when he's running, when he's punching things. He gets a chance to showcase that, and Stuhlbarg doesn't. And that, because of how much Sandler's in the course of what's going on, there are times when I'm kind of more interested in what's happening with Richard Kind and his son, and they do go away from Stuhlbarg. They don't do that with Sandler, and I think there's more of a focus on what Sandler's doing.
I would argue that we expect Adam Sandler to have some kind of physicality, and it would have been like a huge, even in movies like that are like totally dramatic, like Rain Over Me, we get some physicality out of Adam Sandler. It would be remiss if we did not. Like something would be wrong with the movie. And I think that's part of the reason why Paul Thomas Anderson picked him. But like I said, I don't think there's enough laughs per minute for this to be like a great comedic performance. Is it a good performance? 100%. Like he's hitting the gamut. But like comedy wise, I get more laughs per minute with Stuhlbarg, even though maybe he's not doing a gigantic range. There is comedy around him. And if he was reacting like crazily to it, if he was losing his mind like Adam Sandler was, A Serious Man wouldn't work. It's him suffering and just suffering silently and just being bewildered by everyone falling apart around him. That's where the comedy is born out of, and it's the fact that he's able to provide nuance in that very narrow spectrum that makes it a brilliant comedic performance, because in some of your best comedic performances you need the straight man, otherwise the comedy doesn't make any sense. Whereas in Punch Drunk Love, there are comedic moments, I will grant, but I think it's overshadowed by the fact that it is overall like a very sad story.
It is a very sad story, but it does get, like I said, it's not so much as when he's alone, it's when he gets to communicate with people, Sandler. There's a versatility, like I said, fear, panic, chaos. It's all built into everything that's going on. Stuhlbarg doesn't get a chance to do that, and this is where we're kind of trying to parse out performance versus what the movie entails. And I just think we lack a completeness, and it doesn't even have to do with Sandler's comedy. It's how it is he gets a chance to react to things and how it builds in his face and his physicality. Stuhlbarg doesn't get a chance to do that. I don't know if, again, you have a little bit more knowledge about the Book of Job. I'm not up on my Judaic text, but even so, everybody around him kind of gets to eat, and I know his job is to kind of be steady, but Sandler gets a chance to be steady and crazy all at once. So I think, again,
we're arguing what's the best comedic performance in a good dichotomy of comedic performances. Best lead performance in a comedy. So in a comedy, I'm expecting a comedic performance. In a dichotomy, you have your straight man, you have your comedic people around him. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying it's bad. But I'm saying, like, in a comedy, I'm expecting to laugh. And is Sandler like giving me a bunch of stuff? Sure, but like he's not driving the comedy. It's just a sad mental illness movie where Stuhlbarg, in his nuance, in his a myriad of reactions to chaos, like we actually get a very layered, nuanced performance that works on several levels.
Well, I think there is some comedy built into the action parts of it because of how timid Sandler goes and how he goes from like 0 to 60. I think that is comedic in its way.
Oh, I don't know what you said, but strike it from the record. Let's go to John for closings first. John, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I guess it's really coming down to like who was doing more heavy lifting in the role. I think it's harder for somebody to be a straight man constantly through this cast, but have significant individual reactions to everything going on, to Fred Malamed, to his wife, to his neighbor, to his other neighbor, to his son, to his daughter, to his rabbis. Every single thing requires a separate, confused, bewildered response, and Stuhlbarg nails it. Probably like 20 different reactions throughout the movie. Whereas in Punch Drunk Love, Adam Sandler is doing comedic and dramatic and sad mental health nuances all over the movie. But I feel that when I go to see a comedy, I'm trying to laugh. And the question is, what is the best lead performance in a comedy? I'm getting more out of a comedic lead performance from Michael Stuhlbarg in A Serious Man than I am out of Adam Sandler in Punch Drunk Love. And while I grant that this is like against type for Sandler, I think some of Robert's points is that a lot of Sandler was left behind. He still did get him to do physicality. He got him to do chaotic, losing his mind type stuff. So I don't think it's as unique as Robert's painting it out to be.
Time. Okay, let's go over to Robert. Robert, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
John picked first, and I think he opened up the Pandora's box of its best lead performance, just how it happens to be in a comedy. And I think the degree of difficulty for Sandler is at a 10 out of 10. It's a really weird character. He's affected. He's in a bubble, but he's trying to connect. He doesn't understand himself and how it is he plays that. While there is a lot of sadness and a lot of detail about mental illness, the physicality, the running, the hitting, the how it is he interacts with his sisters, with Philip Seymour Hoffman, it's all played up to comedy. Whereas with Michael Stuhlbarg, he has to play the straight man through, and again, admirable job, but it's a little one note. He's the sad sack cucked husband for the majority of everything. There's a little bit of a flat effect, as I mentioned. There is some interest in what's going on with the crazier characters. It's just like when you get to that point and we go away from the story of what Michael Stuhlbarg is going to with his son, with the uncle, with the brother, like that thing, those things just end up having more focus on them and more attention. The upheaval, like we just want a little bit more out of Stuhlbarg that we kind of get from Sandler because he's a little more versatile.
Okay, let's bring in the judges.
I love debating, John. That was very measured, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you. Who you're saying I was talking too much, Tim? Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I usually, if you go over a minute, I throw it up.
Fair enough. I thought it was equal. I thought we were doing good.
You were for the most part.
Yeah.
And then you went about 10 seconds. I was trying to wait for you to finish the point, and then I was like, I don't know when it's coming. So
Yeah, now you're quick on the button. Where were you last match?
Hey, whoa. You won.
It's true. Handily, some would say.
It was a good match. Okay. Okay. Brian, you look ready. Kirk, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm all set.
Good first debate. I think, yeah, it feels like John has been doing this for a very long time. And Robert is obviously, we as we said up top, like he's been doing this for a while. He's very good at this. He's challenger belts. Like, yeah, he's good. So I thought this was pretty even for me, actually. They kind of came at it like John went to it from the, like, we're talking about the category is comedy and the laughs per minute are higher from Stuhlbarg and A Serious Man. And Robert kind of came back at it like it's the best lead performance in the movie. The comedy part doesn't necessarily matter, but he still brought up some of the funnies. Ultimately, I went with Robbie Casts, though I do think it was close. I think John's biggest thing for me that I liked was his whole, like, you know, that Stuhlbarg does get some big laughs throughout the movie, and that definitely, like, helped push his forward. But I felt like Robert did a really good job of kind of breaking down that Sandler has some of the Sandlerisms, but also still gets to, like, open up his acting chops, making it a really exciting performance. And that Stuhlbarg's performance is, while it might have some laughs, is a little one note. So I went with Robert. Kirk, tell me why I'm either very right or very wrong.
Okay. I mean, I see both sides because I don't think you're very right or wrong either way because it's very close. It's a very good debate. And they both kind of address it that they up the degree of difficulty not only for themselves but for us because, you know, going outside of straight comedy and making it more about a real performance within a comedy added extra layer to it. And they think they did both did a really good job of explaining their take on it, and they kind of ended up argued the same things with the character. Again, very close, so I had to find something to cling on to. You know, there was talk. You know, Robert was talking about, you know, that it's, you know, there's more focus on the other characters. But John came back and said how, you know, that it's still about him reacting and responding to that little story and the nuance. So I did go with John by a hair. I just bought into, like, the idea of the nuance, even though, you know, there are other interesting aspects to this of the story. I don't think that takes away at all from Stuhlbarg's performance and kind of makes it more difficult for him to react to all those things.
Okay, Brian, you're deciding this one. Where are you going?
Yeah, I thought it was a great first debate. I think it was very close. They both did a very good job. For me, like, I know that, like Kirk just mentioned that Robert was going into, like, how there's a lot more focus on other characters, and Stuhlbarg kind of, you know, took a backseat to some of them for a lot of it. But for me, that's, like, that doesn't have anything to do with the performance of the actor. At the same time, though, I think a lot of John's attacks on Punch Drunk Love focused on the fact that, you know, his performance is more comedic. But Robert smartly, you know, came back and said, this isn't best comedic performance, it's best performance, it's in a comedy. So I thought that's kind of what really kind of hit home for me. So for me, I know Robert's not a judge, so we don't have something to do with silly puns. So in your honor, I did Robbie the Robot.
Oh, look at that.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all.
All right, so Robert wins the first point, but we're going to move on to the next question, which was drafted by John in the category of animation. Your question is, which stop-motion animated film has the best opening scene? We are going to start with John. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Kind of honored to be talking about Phil Tippett's Mad God today, because Phil Tippett is probably the man when it comes to stop-motion animation. And when he was doing RoboCop 2 back in the 80s, he decided, I'm going to do a project. And throughout him doing Jurassic Park, Starship Troopers, Spiderwick Chronicles and all the Twilight movies and a Star Wars movie, he found time over 30 years to process over 120 still frames and create Mad God with the help of only volunteers. And if you've seen the opening sequence of Mad God, where we see the god at the top of the temple, but I'm talking more about the assassin descending into the underworld. Just the attention to detail as the cage drops, the turrets move. We see this gigantic, like absolutely sprawling hellscape. I can't imagine how large the stage that Phil Tippett was working on with just volunteers, painstakingly crafting this gigantic field. Look at the opening scene of Mad God. It's probably the greatest thing ever done in stop motion animation.
All right, let's go over to Mr. Castner. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
I think no matter if we're talking about animated or live action, the best opening scenes for movies are those that introduce us to a world, establish characters, tone, and hook us for what we expect in the remainder of the runtime without trying too hard, feeling expository. Musicals are somewhat of a cheat code for that because they usually accomplish that with a jaunty tune and an opening number where you get to see the cast environment and explain it through not boring dialogue. So with that, I thought about in stop motion animation, Nightmare Before Christmas. We have some narration about nature of holiday towns and the lore. So we already get a little bit opening up of the expansion of the universe. And then we get the full-on vibe, everything we need to know about what they expect in Nightmare Before Christmas in This Is Halloween, going through Halloween Town, introducing us to all the scary things. We get notes about Jack, about Sally, about even Oogie Boogie, who's kind of menacing in the moonlight. We expect him to be the big bad. It's comedic, it's horrific, it does everything it needs to within the course of a 3 to 4 minute scene, and I think that makes it the best.
Okay, awesome. Guys, once again, 5 minutes when one of you starts talking.
Okay, John. So I know you're a staunch advocate of this movie. This movie was a mindfuck for me. I'll say that. My pea brain had a hard time processing.
I agree. Go ahead.
Had a hard time processing what was going on. It's very, if this was like most artistic and most accomplished, like opening scene, I would give that to you. It's very artistic, avant-garde. It has a whole bunch of layers to it. But I think in terms of like what I expect from an intro to help me understand what's going to happen, it doesn't do that for me because I don't know I don't know anything about the assassin. I don't know anything about the world. And no, we do get a descent later on in the film, which kind of
I don't think we need to know what's going on with the assassin. We're talking about the best opening scene. And I think stop motion animation, if we go across all the great stop motion animated movies like Fantastic Mr. Fox and all stuff like that, there is a technical aspect to it. Like we enjoy watching movies like this because it is magical in a sense. And I feel it's not that like Henry Selick is cheating, but like every Henry Selick movie, like this, James and the Giant Peach, Wendell and Wild, it's the same exact style. It's the same style of characters, the smoothing, and also he had the backing of 120 Disney animators to do this. Phil Tippett did this by himself. He's a master. Henry Selick might not be.
Again, like most accomplished, like most well worth, like best. Everything, like no. Well, I mean, again, like best kind of incorporates a lot of things for how people like can interpret it. And for me, I need to know how this plays into like what does this mean for the sake of the movie? And like I said, it's a musical. Yeah. You mentioned James and the Giant Peach. This does do it first, and I think it does do it best.
Yeah, it's the first movie he did. It's the first movie he did.
And I mean, and they utilize the animation as best they can, and they do it in a song. Like I was thinking about if I wanted to show this to my kid, and I rewatched it, and I was like, this is more horrifying than I remember it being. Even with like how Jack is introduced. So
I think we're going down a rabbit hole here where like the opening scene needs to explain everything. I don't think that's true. I mean, sure, it's cool if it does. And for a kid's movie, it should. You want to grab the kid. But a movie like Mad God that isn't an avant-garde art movie, we're talking like we're strung to the first 5 minutes. I'm going to just judge it on its technical merits. And also, I feel like Phil Tippett stays within the lines. Henry Selick does. There's definitely non-stop motion animation when the ghosts are flying, when there's fire, when the water's moving. He's basically cheating and coloring outside the lines, and he also has like the backing of Disney. Whereas Phil Tippett, gets his hands dirty.
Yeah, again, visually impactful, stunning. I give you all these things, and we're not going down. It doesn't have to explain everything. I just need to understand what's going on in the world. And I really don't.
He's going down on an elevator.
Yeah, but like to what, for what purpose? I have no concept of what the season
takes time.
even is.
It's got. You
I
gotta
know
let 'em
that's
cook.
it takes time. It takes 20 minutes before I get the understanding until we get to the last layer with the bomb.
The question isn't do you understand the movie after 5 minutes? The question is what's the best opening scene? And the craftsmanship is like no, like Henry Selick isn't touching Phil Tippett. He's not even in the same like conversation.
Technically, no, he is not. But at best incorporates a lot of different things. It's not just most technically stunning. It's how it is it plays into what's going on in the film.
The best action movie has the best action. The best comedy has the best comedy. The best horror has the best horror. The best stop motion animation has the best stop motion animation.
You can say that, but it's also in relation to what's going on in the film. And it's not just about the animation, it's also about the song. And the song is something that's built in as a millennial generation hit. So that goes into it as well.
And he has the help of Danny Elfman. It's like, it's all just like handed to him.
I mean,
it's
not just
stuff.
about Henry Selick, though. I mean, people work on things. You give Phil Tippett his flowers because he did everything, right? He's
over 30 years. Nightmare Before Christmas was under 18 months. Yeah.
Yes, I understand this, but it's not just like who should we feel the best about what they accomplish? It's the best. And
are you saying this is not an achievement?
No, it is an achievement. I'm not saying it is an achievement.
I don't know. It sounds like you are.
No, I'm saying there's more into the concept of best than just it's a technical achievement. We talk about like
phenomenal to look at this movie. I think it's I think Mad God is more beautiful.
But there's also like the audio aspects as well are a little like they're a little blaring. They're a little like there's a lot of sensory overload. Whereas when you just do This Is Halloween, which is terrifying and comedic, it does help like get you into the world, get you into the mindset of what to expect.
Mad God is an assault on the senses. That is the point of the movie. It is absolutely what he intended to do. Phil Tippett succeeded, and it eclipses anything Henry Selick has ever done.
Time. Okay, let's get closings, starting with Robert. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Parsing out the question, what the Nightmare Before Christmas was accepted because it is an opening to a stop motion animated movie. It's mostly stop motion. It's about how it is. It sets up the lore of the universe. It's a great scene because it sets the tone for the horror and the comedy. It's a great tune. It's something millennials have been like. Hot Topic has made its bones of This Is Halloween and Nightmare Before Christmas for 30 plus years. It introduces the characters. It sets the stakes for everything, and it is nice to look at because it has the backing of those things. Give Phil Tippett his flowers for his technical achievement, but when I look at Mad God, I don't really know what's happening in the intro. It's interesting to look at, but there is a descent scene later on, which is kind of the same thing, undercuts what's happening there. There are technically 3 intros. I won't get into the bog down of that because we are talking about the descent. It is like blaring for audio and visually, so it is a little bit stunting in that way. It's just, I don't understand what's happening till way past that intro.
Okay, let's go over to John. John, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I'm going to ask you to look at the question. What is the best opening scene in a stop motion animated movie? Henry Selick is good for making like sanitized, regurgitated, smooth, jaunty animation. It's very great for families, very great for kids, has the backing of Disney, animated, merchandising trains. I get it. It's fine. It made a lot of money, and a lot of people love The Nightmare Before Christmas. Is it the best stop motion animated introduction ever? No. Phil Tippett spent 3 decades like painstakingly by himself for the most part, moving things 24 frames a second, 120,000 frames. And you cannot expect a movie this avant-garde, this art house to just regurgitate every single thing that you or your kids need to know in 5 minutes. Kids shouldn't even be watching this movie to begin with. Everything artistic down to the last minute detail is perfect in that guy. Nightmare Before Christmas is the same. Watch James and the Giant Peach. Watch Wendell and Wild. It's the same sweeping, jaunty, oompa loompa doompity doo stuff that you see in every single Henry Selick movie. Phil Tippett made a masterpiece. Watch Mad God. Tell me I'm wrong.
Time. All right. Let's bring in the judges.
Don went full Homelander there, down to the minute detail.
It felt right.
Felt right. Yeah. I enjoyed that debate too. I thought that was very fun.
That was fun. That was a little different. It was fun.
Yeah. I showed my wife a little clip of Mad God when I was watching it. She's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Mad God is not It is to be experienced. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, it sounds like something I would dig.
Tim, if you haven't seen it, strap in. Get yourself your finest bourbon and watch it.
Oh,
It's fun. It is very, very fun and very mindfucky, as I said.
should I buy it on Blu-ray?
If you can find it. I mean, you're a Blu-ray guy, so yeah.
Kirk, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Brian, you're kicking us off.
I felt this is pretty one-sided. I went with Robert Castaway and Drew Little Wilson there. I felt like Robert basically said everything I thought, because it's a lot of times in debates I'll think of things, but like I'm not, obviously I'm not going to hold that against somebody if the person doesn't debate that. But he, like, everything that came to my mind, he said. We was talking about how we're not talking about who we feel best about what they achieved, and and we totally respect the technical achievement and everything he's done there, and all that, but the opening scene, like he said, it was the best scenes incorporate lots of things. It incorporates the artistry and the music and giving you an introduction to the characters and all these things, whereas Mad God has that beautiful animation and artistry, which I'll say I still have not finished that movie. I think it looks great, but I just get really bored. I think I'm going to need to be the elevated state next time I try to watch it. But it does look beautiful, and everything he's accomplished, like you said, by himself and some volunteers, I think is great. But his attacks on Nightmare Before Christmas, like the fact that it had other animators and Disney behind it and stuff, I thought that didn't affect how good that introduction was, or the opening scene was.
I thought that if anyone would have caught it, it would have been Brian, and maybe he did, but he didn't want to say it. But John likes to clip stuff out, take videos, stuff. I think I'm going to make a clip of John saying, yeah, you want to grab kids. Because he said it about 3 times and out of context.
I'm offended.
Yeah, it was just like all of a sudden he was like, yeah, of course, you want to grab kids. And I was like, whoa.
They're grabbable.
They are.
No, but all jokes aside, I agree with Brian. I went with Robert. Sometimes when I listen to a debate, I try to like get into the mind of the player and be like, well, how are they, like, where are they coming at with this? And I get where John was coming from, and he's obviously really passionate about this movie. And I think that was almost maybe to a detriment. I think he really likes this. I don't know who it was, but it sounds like he's worked on many films I enjoy very much. And
he has
Star Wars.
Yeah, and that
Star Wars Jurassic.
that this movie is probably something I would like. But I think Robert really smartly played the listen, like it just because I think. I forget how he said it, but John basically threw the attack of like everything that Mad God does in the opening is like what this artist did is better than like anything Henry, whatever his name is, has ever done. And Robert was like, it's not about that. It doesn't matter how many people worked on it or whatever. Like, it's just what is the better scene. So I did go with Robert, though I got what John was going for. I didn't necessarily agree from the debate perspective. Kirk, what do you think?
I actually went with John. I agree with a lot of what you're both saying, because John kind of made this a referendum of the careers of Phil Tippett and Henry Seliss. I don't know his name, but their entire filmography against each other, and that was the point. But I also agreed with John, where Robert focused a lot on getting the story out and the exposition, understand what's going on, and that's not a requirement either. So I was kind of up in the air, and I think just in the final moments, John convinced me that there was, even though the fact that he worked on it for so long didn't matter, but I think he convinced me that the finished product had a lot more detail and a lot more things going on and a lot more value than Nightmare did.
All right. Well, with that, Robert is up 2-0, which means John needs to hit this next one in order to stay in the game. The category is, I want to say, biopics. The question is, who is the best character in a sports biopic? Could have been sports, and I just decided.
No, it was biopic.
So anyway, cool. Biopics. gentlemen, we're going to start with Robert. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Another best question. When I was thinking about what makes someone or something the best for a sports biopic, I think you have to consider what they accomplish in service of themselves or the main subject of the story, how integral and how indispensable they are while telling a truish recount of what happened. And honestly, are they portrayed in a memorable way where you don't think anybody else could really play them? And I took all that together and I came up with Dickie Eklund, played by Christian Bale in The Fighter. He's the best because even though he isn't the titular fighter, that's Mark Wahlberg, he's as crucial to everything as Wahlberg, and even more so because he inhabits a man so completely that, like, what they show in real clips of the person at the end, everything you could read, it's encompassed in what Bale does. Like, he's the most interesting part of that film without question. He's the emotional center. He's the comedic center. Like, Mark Wahlberg is really flat in comparison to everything that Christian Bale does. Not only in his performance, which he earned an Oscar for, but he is like Pagliacci. He's the sad clown, but he doesn't play it as a sad clown. So it's tragic and comedic all at the same time.
Did he win the Oscar for that?
Yes.
Oh shit. Yeah. I forgot about that. All right, John, 1 minute for you when you start.
Wow, 2 Oscar-winning performances going against each other. I didn't think this would happen. Allison Janney playing LaVonna Golden, Tonya Harding's mother, and I, Tonya. This is a complicated role. Speaking as a parent to an athlete, you can easily get consumed by trying to make your child great. And we see that LaVonna Golden has dedicated her entire life to making Tonya Harding great, to the point that it has turned her into a hollow, bitter, spiteful woman who plows through 4 marriages, all of her money as a struggling waitress. And she winds up resenting and abusing her own daughter, therefore making the character of Tonya Harding, who marries Galooly, who attacks Nancy Kerrigan. So is Allison Janney's character of LaVonna Golden, was LaVonna Golden the impetus for everything that happens in the real life story of Tonya Harding? Maybe, but to capture the nuance of a woman who is basically actively insane and a bad mother is very, very difficult.
Time. All right. 2 great picks, gentlemen. 5 minutes when one of you starts talking.
Did you know Christian Bale is the 4th choice for that role? It's crazy, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Just want to put that out there. No,
you want to go or you want me to go? Okay.
I'll just say, I'll say this. Like, I'll be very brief. Like, I think that our movies are really different because I think The Fighter is like an accurate portrayal of what happened, whereas I, Tonya is kind of like fantastical, but which kind of might make it harder to do because they are taking license. So I'm going to give Allison Janney the edge there. But go ahead.
Okay. So performance-wise, let's just say because they both won Oscars, they're both, like, again, probably the best characters in their respective movies. I think we could probably say that and agree on that part. I would just say from a dynamism and intrigue standpoint, Bale is more interesting in that way because LaVonna Golden has to play, she is the monster because it's taken from Tanya's perspective, really. Even though it's like we're doing it in an interview, it's from her perspective. And she sees her mom as the monster. That's how she's portrayed. Whereas Dickie's the monster, but he's also the heart as well. He doesn't see himself as the monster because he's high and the addiction, he knows he's addicted, but there's a lot of layers going on. It's not till he's shown it in his face that he realizes he has to change, and he does change, whereas LaVonna doesn't change.
I would say the telling thing about the Dickie Eklund performance, not that it isn't great, is that they do juxtapose it with the actual Dickie Eklund. And I begin to wonder, is Christian Bale just impersonating Dickie Eklund? Because if you go and you watch footage, if you go explore footage on YouTube of Dickie Eklund and Mickey Ward training, Christian Bale just seems to be doing a very good impersonation. I don't know if it's necessarily a performance. He's doing stuff that Dickie Eklund did, whereas Allison Janney's portrayal of LaVonna Golden, if you see footage of LaVonna Golden, she is definitely like a hard, mean woman, but she's not as over the top. As you said, this is like it's like a extrapolated retelling of the Tonya Harding story, and it allows Allison Janney to actually put on a better performance than reality, whereas Christian Bale was hamstrung by reality.
I don't know if he's as hamstrung. I think he gets a chance to play up, especially the moments when he's high and the moments when he's in prison. But I like how that's juxtaposed against his where he is familially with Mickey, with his mom, with his kid, and how that all comes to a head. And like, again, emotional center, and he's the emotional weight that pushes everything towards the end. It's not Wahlberg, it's him. From LaVonna, because of how hardened she is and how she makes that into Tanya, they're not the same character. But they do play a bit of the same beats. They are kind of hardened women on the outside. They are portrayed as white trash. They do have a lot of the same beats, even though they aren't technically the same. But Dickie doesn't have that with anybody because of the beats of his character.
Yeah, I would say like Dickie Eklund is a fighter and he's an addict, and we don't really get much more than that. Whereas Levana Golden is a woman, like a struggling woman, a white trash woman who sets her mind on turning her daughter into this superstar, and it absolutely consumes her to the point that she doesn't even realize how consumed and bitter she is. And I'm not sure the real life Levana may have at this point, but throughout the course of I, Tonya, we're just watching this woman who is totally devoid of like acknowledging the reality she has created. She is the reason why Tanya gets so high and then begins to struggle. She is the reason why Tanya seeks out a relationship with a douchebag, and that douchebag is the reason why the controversy happens. So again, as much as Dickie drives the fighter, Levana drives I, Tonya.
Yes, and well, like Mickey's not a fighter without Dickie. He doesn't win some of those matches, get to the title. So I think there's a comparison with there as well. And both of them have a point in the movies where they kind of go away. Dickie's in prison. We're more focused on Jeff and Tanya's relationship, but they do come back to Dickie more than they do to Lavona, because we get to the point of the incident, which is kind of the main impetus of why we have the movie, until the end part where she tries to record her for the sake of her own celebrity or trying to make money. So there is, and Dickie is on the poster, so he is more integral to the story, I think.
I mean, I, Tonya is the movie. It is about Tonya Harding, but obviously, again, like she gets so consumed that she has given her entire life to this. It's only at the last minute that she realizes, what do I have to show for it? Like, my daughter she did not win. She is not the superstar I groomed her to be. Let me get something out of it. And then she kind of falls into that desperation. And whereas Dickie does have ebbs and flows as well, but I don't think it's as catastrophic as what happens to Lavona, which makes her a better character overall.
Isn't it though, when he gets confronted with the documentary and then he gets clean and then he manages to build the bridges between Amy Adams and the coach, and then he gives Mickey
in the opposite direction, but I like the catastrophe is more catastrophic.
Okay, we are going to start closings with John. John, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I would say like Robert didn't really like address the fact that like the Dickie Eklund actual raw footage and the Christian Bale raw footage you can put them side by side, and he is just imitating. He is mimicking what Dickie Eklund did, the voice, like the heroin lead, the fighting style. It's that. Whereas Allison Janney had to extrapolate a more fantastical character of Levana Golden, because if you look, we watch footage of Levana Golden, sure, she's like a cigarette, a chain smoking, like white trash person, but it's kind of subdued. Whereas the Levana Golden we get in the movie of I, Tonya is over the top, and it does kind of shed light on what we probably didn't see in like Connie Chung interviews. It drives the entire story. I feel that there's much more to this character, and it speaks much more to how Allison Janney inhabited this character and got a chance to play around with it, whereas Christian Bale was limited to the footage we have of Dickie Eklund and what we know of Dickie Eklund from like the tales of his family talking about him when he was in a opioid stupor. So I would say the edge goes to Allison Janney.
Okay, let's go over to Robert. Robert, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Lavona can have, Allison Janney can have nuance in her performance, but again, it does play as she's her one way as the monster to the story, and she does drive things. But Tanya is a bit like her. There is a sort of carbon copiness to that. Just because there's more footage of necessarily and how what Christian Bale can take from Dickie doesn't make it more interesting, more intriguing. Again, he's sad. He can't. It's nuanced because he can't come to the reality of how his addiction is affecting everybody until it stares him in the face. And then he gets to be the emotional weight of everything. He gets to push Mark Wahlberg forward, push his family forward to success. All of that's done with the Christian Bale charm. He's on the poster. Everything revolves around him. Whereas there's a big chunk of what happens in I, Tonya is Tanya Harding's story. So she gets pushed to the side more so than Dickie does. And he has a lot more weight emotionally to carry. I just think there's points of Lavona where she plays it more one note than the dynamism and intrigue that gets built from what Dickie Eklund, Christian Bale gets to do with his character.
Okay, great. Bring in the judges. I didn't go to college, but I love it when Robert uses words like
Dynamism.
oh,
What word did
It's
you
a
use?
dynamism. It was
Oh,
awesome.
dynamism.
I like to use silly words like that.
No, I
Hey,
love it.
Tim, can I get the question again?
Oh, sure. Who is the best character in a sports biopic?
This character, okay.
John, you were worried about our Pittsburghness, but Kirk's voted against me twice.
He must have heard me.
There you
I
go.
know. That's exactly what I expected Kirk to do. He's a very intelligent man. Not that I'm pandering. But I am. Brian hasn't voted for me. I've been to Illinois. He's not voted for me once. I mean, I can't imagine. Yeah.
There you
But I
go.
hate most people in Illinois, so
Well, I'm not from Illinois. I was just visiting.
I mean it's better than Wisconsin people, but
Whoa. Wow, this is. Are we going to get through the end of this?
How are you going to feel when they move to Gary, Indiana, Brian?
I'm gonna stop.
That's
watching.
true. Oh, shit.
They
Really?
aren't Chicago anymore. Then fuck them.
Wow.
All right, Kirk, you get to kick this one off.
Okay. Three very good debates, very close debates. So I think both just really giving solid presentations of their points and their whatever picks they defending their picks. So it's been hard for me to judge all night. It's been very close for me. And again, two very good picks of two obviously fantastic performances and real well-written characters. Robert, honestly, don't take it personally because it is close, but I did go with John again. I think what just put me over the top is I think I just heard a little bit more from John about his character, and Robert was giving me a lot about screen time and the poster, which I don't think, doesn't necessarily mean who the better character is just because they're more focused. I think John really explained why, even though, how his character was in the background, even when she wasn't on screen, how she was affecting things, and as well as the actual on-screen performance. So again, I think Robert did a really good job, but John, just give me a little bit more.
Okay, Brian.
I liked how this debate was kind of summed up in the very openings for both of them. We're doing the sad clown versus the actively insane bad mother. So it's kind of a fun way to start that thing off. I will say that there were a few times I think that they both started to stray a little bit into almost talking more about performances than character, but I think they both did a good job of kind of reining that back in at some point. I'm aware that I've voted for Robert twice already, but I am not the kind of person who will just throw a vote to somebody just because I haven't voted for them yet. But I did still vote for John, actually. I had my puns. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that to professionals now for the puns. I'm not doing any more of those. But I just think that John I agree with Kirk, first of all, that Robert, once he started talking about who's on the poster and screen time, that didn't really do much for me because, you get like Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs has like 20 minutes of screen time. He's still the best character in the movie. I mean, John didn't say that, but I was just, in my mind, when he was talking about screen time and poster, it wasn't really doing anything for me. But when John was talking about, how his character, she's groomed her, but she had her own motives. There's a little bit more to the character, and the fact that it was a more kind of a little bit fantastical movie, so she had a little bit more to do. It just convinced me to vote for him.
Okay. No exciting quotes for me to pull out this time.
You got to grab kids.
But on the whole, it was still. I agree with you guys. It was a great fight. I also went with John. I thought that he did a really good job on that one, and I agree that with Brian that we started to dig into the performances a little bit. But I thought both players did a good job of kind of flipping that back around. And I think ultimately just what it came down to was Robert talked a lot about the things that the character does and why why they would make a good character. I think he convinced me that his character is good. But John really hit it home for me, especially in the back half when we kind of got away from the performance thing about why, like Brian said, the character is kind of a presence throughout the film, gets to do just like a ton of stuff. And it's a little more fantastical and exciting So I went with John. And with that, John is on the board. It is 2-1. So John still needs to hit this next one in order to send it to the bonus. The category is horror. The question is, or no, is it recent releases? No, it's horror.
It's horror.
It's horror.
Why do I question myself? Which horror recent release has the scariest scene? John, we're going to start with you. 1 minute when you start talking.
Both movies we're going to talk about today are about a skeptic being faced with something scary and how they come to believe it and how scary that is. The scene I'm going to talk about is when Ohm Bowman comes face to face with the witch in Hokum. He is now locked in the hotel room with Fiona's dead body. Mal has killed her. We don't know how. We just see her dead body. Ohm has no idea, but he knows something happened in the basement. So he rigs a fantastical contraption to descend down the dumbwaiter to the basement. And the thing he does malfunctions. He mistimes it. And as he is waiting, and he's trying to get back up, he knows something is wrong because he has Fiona's recording that tells something else is down here. And then we see his skepticism melt away as the face of the witch barely appears in the background and starts racing towards him. And there's a lot of drama, a lot of tension as the thing finally hits and the thing ascends. And then Ohm thinks he's safe. He looks down the dumbwaiter. The witch is still there. He runs in the bedroom. The witch is still there. And he finally has to rely on the things he hates to save himself.
Oh, Brian loves that movie. Okay, let's go to Robert. Robert, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I think recent horror nowadays, there's a lot of different itches to scratch to satisfy the need to be scared. A lot of unique takes, experimental ideas. So I try hard to narrow it down to what generates the most fear. I thought the one experience I had in the theater, and I was alone in the theater when I saw this, and in my dark bedroom, that really made me the most scared, was the ending of Undertone. Undertone isn't really about story so much as it is about sensory manipulation. I talked against it for Mad God, but we're talking about how sound design can bombard you and put you in a heightened sense. We're talking about, for the sake of it being scary, nothing does it better than the end of Undertone. You have these characters running a podcast. We get to the end. Things have been happening. They've been assaulted with a lot of different scary sounds, but now it's all coming to a head. We have callers coming in. The calls are starting to descend into demonic possession. We see that our main character, Evie, has been drawing something. It corresponds to this visual darkness, things taking over her house, and it's all built into what happens here at the end.
Am I crazy, or did these come out like the same weekend?
They were very close. I think a week apart.
Very close.
Yeah, they're very close. Okay, anyway, gentlemen, 5 minute freeform, and one of you starts talking.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, so again, my pick is not about what's happening in the story. It's about how the sound design, how the camera manipulation of what's panning in the room, the light, everything plays against your senses, and you have no idea what's going on. It seems like the movie really doesn't know what's going on at the end, and you just have to kind of go with it. Yours, Hokum, I love Hokum. It's a good movie. I don't think it's really about the scariness as it is about understanding kind of like folklore and like trauma, how trauma builds into kind of a fear of what's like how we could turn into our parents maybe. There's those things come, and I just think yours doesn't surprise me. Like, and it also is undercut by the fact that Albie, we get to see the witch before, so there's not as much scariness with the visual concern of the witch. I think that plays against it.
Not the witch. But again, we're just talking scene for scene here. We're not talking the movies as a whole. I feel the real downfall of your pick is the fact that Ian Tuasone optimized it for like this experience and also like Dolby and like higher formats, whereas most people who are watching Undertone are going to lose a lot of that sound design. It's kind of stripped away when you just watch the movie. Whereas if you watch it in surround sound or with headphones on, like it is a much scarier movie, but the movie taken vanilla, it doesn't really feel the same. Whereas Hokum doesn't have that problem because they've built the tension with Ohm as a character. Like he just doesn't believe these people. He's had enough of these people. He's a skeptic, and now he was just going to dump his parents' ashes, and now he's stuck in a room with a dead body. And they say the room is haunted. He doesn't believe it. He's wrong, and the tension of him trying to escape is probably surmounts the tension that Evie has at the end of Undertone.
I want to clarify. When I'm talking about the bellboy when he tells his story about experiencing the witch, and we see her in the shadow, so we know what the witch looks like. But when you're talking about scenes with his mom, I actually think those and the scene before when he's sleeping on the bed with Jack the Jackass those I think are scary. I think those are more tension filled.
Those are just jump scares, kind of though.
But
And I would say
for people that's more scary.
But the bellboy telling Ohm the story, it feeds into the fact that like Ohm's like, this guy's full of shit. Like this is just stupid Irish stuff. It builds into his character, and it all comes crashing away. Whereas Evie is still a skeptic, even in the face of like everything going wrong. Like in the last call, she accuses Justice. Like, are you doing this? Like it never melts away. It doesn't realistically melt away.
But I think she's doing that because she's trying to save herself. I think she's trying to grab onto the last bastions of logic. But the caller before that, when she's trying to like connect to her about, she believes that a woman is going to drown her baby or kill her baby because of.
But the girl's name is Abby, so it's clearly Abazu, right?
Abazu, yes.
And she's missing all that. Like she's supposed to be like a brilliant podcaster who knows all this stuff, but she's missing obvious things. She's clinging to skepticism when like everything around her, including her drawing 2 inches from her face, something's wrong, and she never admits it.
You were talking about what happened with Albie and how that plays into the downfall of what's going on with Ohm. What I would say is when we get to that point in the story with Evie, she's getting back to drinking. She's her mom is basically on death's doorstep. So her levels of like logic and her levels of understanding and being like available what's going on have been lessened because of everything they've experienced to that point. So it comes to a head here, and her defenses are down, is what I would say.
Right. And I would also say just like while there is good sound design and it does build the Hokum scene builds more when he's sitting in the dumbwaiter and like his timer goes off and nothing happens, and then the music ramps up and you just kind of see, you're like, oh, you still don't know whether Albie's full of shit or not, and then you finally see the real, and this witch looks scarier. It's a much scarier looking witch in that scene, and then it's just slowly coming towards him, and even he's like, what, and then it just races to him out of the darkness. And then he gets up, and then it just continues. It's another race. He falls in the bathtub. It comes over the wall. He draws the chalk. It's a very, very tense and scary scene. Whereas in Undertone, it's kind of flat. And if I watch it like this, it's nowhere near as scary.
Well, I did watch it with just earbuds in my room, in a darkened room, and it did still scare me to the point where I was flashing my light around to make sure things weren't trying to get me, because it did get me to that point.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. But I would say, like, if you try to go objectively into Undertone, if I just sit here and watch it like this on my computer screen, it's not going to be as scary, where that Hokum scene will be just as scary. It is this kind of sound design, a Dolby Studio or headphones. So Ian Tuasone did not make a objective experience. You have to assist him in making the scene scary.
But if you go along with him in that ride, and I don't think it necessarily relies on that, but I want to get back to Adam Scott. I like Adam Scott as an actor, but I don't think he plays scared well, and I think that undercuts what's happening here. Like,
I would disagree. When he's stumbling all over the place, he's definitely scared.
When he's supposed to play like drunk or high because he drank the whiskey that was, and that's a choice, but I think it does undercut the fear I'm supposed to have, because I don't believe he's as fearful, because I don't think he can get to that level. I like him, but I don't think he can.
Okay, let's go to closings, starting with Robert. Robert, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
When it comes to Undertone, you're subjected to scary things throughout, but it comes together at the end. Your imagination plays tricks on you with the visuals, with the audio. It's a combination of both, how the camera works, the lighting, the sound, and you can watch it. It doesn't require, it's better, it's enhanced with better sound quality, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's a bombardment of things, and your imagination is playing it because it's incorporeal. You don't know what's really happening. You get a sense of it through the clips, but you don't know. When it comes to Hokum, again, it was a little bit undercut because we did see the witch through Albie's perspective, and it's the same witch. I think it's undercut by how it is that Adam Scott plays it. I think there are scarier jump scares relative to what the witch conjures with, or how Adam Scott interprets it with scenes with his mom or with Jack the Jackass. I think there are things there that don't play into what could be the most scary, as opposed to Undertone, where again, it's not about the story. It's about how it is you feel in that moment as an audience member. Everything crescendos with the sound, the visuals, everything in that end.
Okay, let's go over to John. John, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I'll go back to my original point. Both of these scenes hinge on the loss of skepticism. Evie never loses her skepticism. It kind of undercuts the fear of it all when she's constantly trying to rationalize what's happening to her. Whereas Adam Scott's Ohm, like you see, the second he believes, it becomes a panicked race for his life. And I disagree that Adam Scott isn't playing scared. He is definitely scared going up the dumbwaiter. He's scared looking down the dumbwaiter. He's scared falling in the hot tub. He's scared drawing the chalk outline. He's scared the whole time. And the scene drags on and it's tense the whole time. Whereas Ian Tuasone's sound design, you can literally remove that from the movie. If I'm just sitting on my couch or I'm watching it in a non-enhanced environment, it kind of falls flat, and it is definitely undercut by the character of Evie consistently trying to rationalize. While even things are definitely going wrong, she never ever even explores the possibility that she could be wrong. Whereas the whole scene of Hokum, which is tense the entire time, hinges on the fact that Adam Scott's character realizes he is wrong, and you actually see his world fall apart, and that is the scary part.
Okay. Bring in the judges. This has been a great one.
To be honest, my world collapsed when I didn't get one vote in the last one.
Sorry.
That's okay. It happens.
I still love you.
I love you too, Robert. I love your whole family.
I love you, John. I love you, John. I love your family as well. I hope
they're gonna appreciate
Logan. I hope Logan doesn't appear on like Locked Abroad, whatever that show was. It was on, like.
No, he was in Dubai and he started taking his shirt off on the street, and my sister-in-law was like, "Don't do that."
No,
because he's
Logan,
yeah,
you rascal.
He didn't get arrested in Dubai, so that's good.
That's good.
Okay. Great fight. Not gonna lie, the first time I saw Bolt, well, technically I've only seen each of these movies once. I fell asleep both times in both movies and had to go back. Luckily I work at a theater, so I could just like stand there for 20 minutes and watch what I missed. But I still liked both movies, so there you go. I think I liked Hokum more. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, good fight though. I thought that both did a really good job of kind of breaking down why their scenes are scary, the effect it can have on you, kind of what the scene does to a normal person, but also the characters inside of the movie. I thought this was really well fought. I went with Mr. Maher. I think his hits against Undertone were just a little too much to come back from for Robert. I think Robert did a good job, but I think Robert's attempts to kind of take down the Hokum scene with like other jump scares and stuff, that John was able to kind of combat that. And I thought that his attacks on Undertone were just really well placed. It was a simple thing to just say, like, if you watch the scene not wearing headphones or whatever, it's compromised. It's not as scary. I don't know if that's 100% true or not, because when I watched it, it was in Atmos, and I couldn't tell you. But based on the arguments, I felt like John had it here. Kirk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, another good fight to listen to, but not a fun one to judge because, again, it was so close. They both did a really good job. Two movies that I've been wanting to see and haven't yet, so spoilers. Thanks for that, guys.
All right.
My scene happens in the middle of the movie.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So the other thing is, like, because I hadn't seen it, sounds like there's a lot going on in both scenes, and at certain points I was confused, like, what scene they were talking about, because it sounded like there's some characters with some similar names. So I was struggling to keep up, and it's not their fault because they got a lot of information conveyed, but it was just hard to keep up with. And again, they both did a good job. But it was tough because what it came down to, a lot of time when you have these objective things like funniest, scariest, whatever, at least superlatives, I just ended up going with what made me feel the most of that. And I do feel that John gave me a more visceral experience. And again, everything that Robert said about like all the technical aspects might be true. And this might be not necessarily fair with me not having to see the film, but I feel like I just experienced more listening to John's story of it. And I do feel like the idea that, yes, there's versions of this movie that are going to be incomplete, missing the main thing you're focusing on. So I thought that was a good hit as well. So again, I'm sorry, Robert. I'm taking them one at a time.
All right, Brian, your vote does not count. Where would you have gone?
Well, Tim kind of hinted in the beginning that I did not care for Hokum. I feel to make sure people don't think that that's going to affect my vote, it's important to point out that I also did not like Undertone. I didn't think either movie was good. I will say they both picked the scenes from those movies that were maybe even the slightest bit scary. So there's that. Um, for me, I mean, it would have been the same. I voted for John as well. I think for me, it just came down to, I was talking about his has more than just the sound design. There's a little bit more to it. But you guys already covered pretty much everything I was going to say, though. So yeah, vote for John.
Okay. Well, with that, that means that we are all tied up. And so we are going to move into a bonus question. So here's how the bonus round is going to work. I have randomized a category from Fanzone that was not in the main round. So I am going to say what the category is. I am then going to say the question. I will then repeat the question. Once I have repeated the question, you guys may answer the question. Whoever answers first will go first. Whoever answers second will go second. Each player will get 45 seconds, followed by 30 seconds. John, I don't remember if you went to bonus last time or not. So any questions you remember?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Okay. So any questions from either players before we kick this off?
No.
Okay. Well, this is going to be lovely because the category that was randomized was Oscars.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, why I still have this in here when I run the league, I don't know. And the question is, what is the best picture winner of all time? Again, what is the best picture winner of all time?
I'll say The Silence of the Lambs. Let's just, I'll defend that.
Okay. I'll say The Godfather.
Okay. Great. I'm going to take the judges off screen. I'm going to stay on screen to give you guys your countdowns. John, you spoke first, so you're going to be going first. You have 45 seconds for The Silence of the Lambs versus The Godfather when you start talking.
Wait, don't stop my time. You said 1 minute and a half, right?
45 seconds.
45 seconds. Okay. Silence of the Lambs is one of those movies that won the Big Five, when Best Picture and all the acting and the screenplay. So, I mean, we have Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. Such a small time on the screen, but probably the greatest portrayal of any horror villain that I've ever seen. Jodie Foster as Clea Starling plays an FBI agent that's probably against type because she's so small and obviously females, but she kills it on screen as well. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Ted Levine as James Gumb. An incredible performance, and honestly, now I cannot see Ted Levine as anything other than James Gumb in every movie. Not to mention, it is a brilliant adaptation of Thomas Harris's novel, and I think it is hard to capture the essence of Silence of the Lambs. But I feel that Jonathan Demme did a fantastic job of doing that. So kudos all around.
Time. Robert, 45 seconds.
I think when you think of the start of the modern movie, you had things going from kind of a classic era to a more modern era. You think of The Godfather. It won a lot of awards. It didn't get the wins that it really should have. It was nominated a bunch for, sound and writing and all the acting Oscars because it's a portrayal of family in America, of immigrants, of how it is you can make your way in the world. But it's also the most compelling crime drama you've ever seen. It's sprawling. There's a bunch of great characters in it. It's comedic. It's dramatic. It has heart. There's a lot going on within the course of it. I think it's more sprawling. I think it has to hit a lot more beats. There's more to The Godfather necessarily than maybe even Silence of the Lambs.
John, 30 seconds on the clock for you.
For starters, The Godfather insists upon itself, and for Robert to say that it is the definitive immigrant experience, obviously he knows no immigrants. I've never met anybody from a mafia family. I would not say Italians coming to America are all mafias. My father did run numbers for the mafia in Hudson County, but he is half Irish. This is not the normal American experience. I take umbrage with what Robert said, whereas Silence of the Lambs also is not the typical cannibal experience, but it is just a better movie all in all. I put Anthony Hopkins' performance against anything in The Godfather.
The typical cannibal experience. Robert, 30 seconds for you.
I think there are things about Hopkins' performance that are undercut just simply based on how much time he has, whereas opposed to something like Al Pacino's Michael Corleone, where you have to go through his going from up, going down, coming back up as the Godfather, the rise, fall, and rise. The Coppola's direction, how it is he depicts a New York-based situation where everything is controlled by mafia base. It's not the full immigrant experience, but it does tell about how people can come from other countries and rise up, which is a inspiring story, even if it's done in a crime environment, and that makes it the most compelling too.
Oh boy! All right. Oh, that was really funny.
I did enjoy that. That was
I had to go funny. I'm sorry.
No, it was definitely tried really hard. It's not the typical cannibal experience.
we had a discussion in our chat about how some people think The Godfather's like good, but not great. And my response to that was, that's like saying the atom bomb is a decent weapon of destruction.
By the way, an Italian said that, and I won't say
An
who
Italian
it was.
said it.
An Italian said that, and I was as a half
Which
Italian American.
Italian?
No, I can't. I won't. I won't.
can't
I
reveal
don't want
stuff.
this person. I don't want this person attacked.
They deserve it.
Is there a shot in hell that person watches this video?
No.
Well, then just
No.
say it.
Robert, you can say it. I don't want.
I don't. I'm not going to do it. No.
The fact that I
I'm
said
not
it's a
gonna.
she and she's Italian should be all you need to know.
That's probably fair. There's something about Italian stereotypes. We weren't allowed to watch Italian stereotypes.
Kirk's still thinking.
Yeah.
And Kirk gets to play a trivia match after this.
Oh,
Hopefully.
is that the? Oh.
No, Mark messaged mid-match. He's in. He's ready. We're going. It's happening.
Oh, so it's an unattainable match.
All right.
Yes. Get a obtainium it.
You gotta obtainium it. All right, Brian, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Well, Robert really wanted Kirk's vote this time, didn't he? No. I'm kidding. I know he'll judge by the debate. I've always said that as much as I hate speed rounds and as hard as they are to debate, I feel like they're almost harder to judge because you have 75 seconds from each person to base your decision on. So I hate judging these things. I thought they were both very good. I thought they were very close. I had to find something to grab onto to tip the scales one way or the other. I did go with John. I think that the one thing I had to grab onto just to try and tip the scales one way or the other was he pointed out that, in addition to, they both had great stories, they both had great performances. His, it did win the Big Five. It had all the acting Oscars, all that kind of thing. And while awards don't always necessarily matter, we're talking about the category of Oscars, it kind of does become a factor. So
Interesting. I went with Robert. And I felt like what Brian just said makes a lot of sense. But I get what he's saying. He brought up the Big Five thing. It's true. I also felt like what Robert was saying, he kind of pointed out that, there were a lot of Oscars that The Godfather was nominated for that it didn't win, but yet, after all this time, it is still a milestone in those categories, even if it didn't win the Oscar. And I liked how Robert opened it up by basically saying that The Godfather was kind of the beginning of like the modern movie. I thought that was a really cool point that kind of set the stage for his whole argument. And I thought that he did a really good job of just convincing me that this is a movie that just has a lot more going on and it works. And that I'm glad he didn't go for the approach of Silence of the Lambs is bad, because clearly that would be very hard to do. But I think he just was able to say, like, there's just more going on in the performances, in the direction, in the sets, in the setting, that it's a more sprawling movie. So I went with Robert. Kirk, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, this was tough. Speed rounds are hard, like Brian said, and I just feel like there was a lot left on the table. I think in the first half, the first arguments, John focused more on the some things in the movie, like the techno aspects of the movie, things that won. Robert spent little too much time in his opening focused on what Godfather didn't win, but he talked about the movie itself, what the movie achieved within itself. John, I think, honestly, kind of wasted his second argument, talking about the mob thing, and he said it insists upon itself, which he should be banned from the league forever just for using that phrase. But I think just he locked on too much to one of Robert's comments about the mob life. Robert wisely didn't lean into that in his rebuttal, but there was still, I think there still wasn't. I would have liked to gotten a little more out of that. So it was tough, but I had to go. I think I just got a little more out of one person, and Robert, you got my vote when it counted, because I feel like Tim said, I think he just gave me more at the end of what the movie was doing and what it was trying to accomplish, and like I said, all the movie parts that Coppola had to deal with. And so again, it was another close one, but I had to go with Robert on that one.
All right, well, that means your winner is Robert Castner. Moving on to the next match, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is a contender match. So very exciting stuff. And a great match. This was really close. Granted, this is one of those moments Robert wins, but John kind of, he got 2 clean sweeps. Robert won his 3 points on split decisions. I don't think that should affect Robert's game too much. I think Robert's really good at this. Obviously, I think he deserved to win the match. But he's going up against Jacoby next, who is obviously someone who's been a champion, really good at this. I don't know that they've ever played before. If they have, I'm getting a nod. But I think Robert, it's going to be a tough fight for him. But Jacoby also hasn't played in a really long time, and Robert has played a few matches this season. So Jacoby hasn't played at all. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I'm looking forward to it. Brian, I want to get final thoughts from you. What do you think of the match overall?
No, I think this is a great match. And like you said, it's like, Robert took out the win, but John's the one who got the clean sweeps. So I don't think you can get any closer than that. So, I mean, it was a great debate. John in the chat was talking about how woefully unprepared he was going to be for this and how he just kind of wings it. And it's like, if that's him unprepared, he's scary if he decides to actually, put a little bit more work into it. Because I think that the 2 first points he lost were only because he was focused a little bit too much on the category and not the question. Like he wanted comedic performance because it was category comedy when it was just about performance, and he was talking about how it's the best stop motion animation when that wasn't the question. It was just what's the best opening scene. So I think that for somebody who's just starting out in his debate here, I think that a couple tweaks, a couple things, he could be a scary opponent.
For sure. Kirk, final thoughts from you.
Yeah, I mean, John got all my points and all my votes in the opening, which is always good for me. I always like voting for the loser because they can't be mad at you for losing, and the winner doesn't care because they won. So that's always the best position to be in as a judge. But no, I feel like, I mean, this is only John's 3rd match, second match, and I mean, look what and Robert's one of our top, perennial top contenders these days. So for him to hold his own on his second match against Robert like that, really giving, and he had Robert on the ropes. I mean, Robert kind of admitted that he was feeling kind of defeated going into that speed round. So I feel like I think his arrow is just pointing completely up. And of course, and Robert still pulled out against John, who has proven himself to be a great contender. So I'm really excited to see what happens between him and Jacoby.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for us today at Fanzone Debate. But more matches coming up really soon. We got a couple random matches before we hit the Jacoby versus Robert match to find out who's going to take on Mr. Michaels here. So we'll find out very soon. But thank you to Robert and John for playing. Thank you to Kirk and Brian for judging. Thank you to everyone else who helps make this show run. Your Marks, your Nicks, your Castners, once again, he judges a lot. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Until then, bye.
Hands, touching hands, reaching out, touching me, touching you, Sweet Caroline.